want you to watch this exchange between Representative Burleson and then Director Sheetal from the Secret Service. Anthony, can you play that clip?
Identify both.
So I want to talk about communications. Representative Bodner asked earlier about using encrypted apps that you said you have not used, I guess, Signal. Have you used any encrypted app to communicate from your personal device?
I do on occasion use encrypted apps to communicate.
So you use some form of an encrypted app to communicate with people within the federal government, with local law enforcement? Whom are you communicating using encrypted apps?
Many times it's with colleagues and associates.
So you're communicating with colleagues on a personal device?
There are times that the Secret Service, when we work internationally with some of our partners, that they don't have the same texting capability.
And you're not able to do that with your government issued device?
Recently, we have been able to install some of those apps on government devices.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that we can get access to. I'm actually shocked that you are using your personal device and encrypted communication tools. I think that might be the most shocking thing that I've heard today. I didn't expect for you to say that. This committee has requested multiple documents, and this is not, under the purview of the FBI, this is under your purview. We requested a complete list of all law enforcement personnel, including Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement with the roles in protecting the president. And we requested that for us to receive that by July 18th. Did you provide that?
I believe that our agency is in the process of collecting all documents.
So you have not provided it. How long does it take to determine who the personnel were that were on site?
We are collecting a comprehensive list of all the documents that have been requested.
We also requested all the audio and video recordings that your agency, not the FBI, but your agency has in possession related to the event. Did we receive those? Have you provided those at all?
We are in the process of collecting all documentation requested.
You're in the process, but you have not. Any memorandums or any internal communications related to the event? We requested that you provide that. Have you provided any of that?
We are in the process of collecting the information that has been requested.
Okay. So when can we expect to receive these documents? How long does it take to determine who was on site, who was being employed to be there to protect the former president? When can we expect that? How many days does it take to provide that information?
We want to make sure that we have a comprehensive accounting of all of the documents that were engaged in that day, and we will make them available as soon as possible. I
think transparency is the key here. It's shocking to me that we are communicating in a encrypted app to colleagues. I'm almost certain that violates some federal laws.
I would like to clarify, you didn't ask me whether my communications were government work related or whether they were personally related.
You're communicating with colleagues.
I don't communicate government business with colleagues on a personal device. I communicate on my work device.
Are you using an encrypted device on your work device?
I am not.
No encrypted apps?
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair now.
So, Anthony, thanks for that. So there's two things here. Again, some people may say, okay, I get it. She's using this. I have two phones for work. I had two phones for work.
I had two phones.
We had two phones. But there are a couple of things here.
Yeah.
Just on the encrypted app. And I'm just watching and listening to her statement, Bill. This is crucial, in my opinion. She talked about, he asked her, hey, do you have encrypted apps, blah, blah, whatever. Well, I have it on my personal device. Or she didn't say that. She said, I have it on a personal device. And what do you use it for? Colleagues, blah, 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 blah. She went on to say very clearly, everybody can go back and watch the entire clip. Very clearly, she said, well, sometimes on our international trips, some of our international partners don't have the same texting ability. So we use the encrypted app, or I use the encrypted app to communicate with them. Now, did I get that wrong, or is that
No, that's what she said.
right? That's what she said. She also said that she does not have the encrypted apps on her work phone. It's just recent that some employees are allowed to put these apps on the work phones. So she says she doesn't have any apps on her work phone, period. The encrypted apps are on her personal device. Now, I want to fast forward. I'm going to come back to something. I'm going to fast forward. Later on, she clarified, hey, you didn't ask me what I use it for. I only use it for basically non-work related stuff with these encrypted apps, right? That's what she said. It's right there for you to listen to. But previous to that, in the statement, she said that she communicated with some of her international government colleagues or whatever who don't have the same texting ability that we have. And she doesn't have the apps on her work device, which de facto to me says that she was using her personal device for work-related purposes and sending messages regarding whatever responsibilities and operations she had on a personal device. And that's specifically what Burleson asked, is that there must be some violation of federal law. Here's the other thing with that. I could be wrong, and I'm totally happy for someone to get travel logs or whatever through a Public Records Act, whatever it is. I was around the Secret Service for a long time. Some of the most high profile protectees, from presidents to heads of state from around the world, you name it. I never, ever, ever, and this is domestically, I didn't travel internationally. I was just in California doing my job at the CHP. I never saw a director of the Secret Service at an event, never heard that the director of the Secret Service was even in town for an event, let alone at the event or in the motorcade with us. I doubt seriously that this director, this person, was traveling internationally and having to correspond with counterparts from other countries on her personal phone via an encrypted app. It doesn't add up to me. This, for some reason, Bill, just screamed at me of inconsistency and dishonesty. And I'll stop right there and let you go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, I mean, at first, so people understand, like, hey, and I think you kind of alluded to it. You kind of said, hey, what's the big deal? Some people may think, what's the big deal? You got two phones, whatever. When you're talking about work, there's an obligation, or I should say, when you're sending, let's say, a text message. When you're sending a text message about work, there is a federal obligation to retain that text message as a government record. So by her saying initially that she used her personal phone to talk to communicate with colleagues, which she did say at first, she just said, I use apps on my personal phone to speak with colleagues. All of a sudden, her personal phone is now subject to government records requirements. In other words, anything on that phone, like if someone's looking for communications, arguably they need to get access to that phone and see what she's been talking about. And that's a significant thing. Let me speak from experience. Do people in the federal government use personal phones? They do. They do it to avoid having their communications documented and stored and retained. That's why they do it. Do they use encrypted apps on work phones? Okay. Yes, that in some cases that is allowed now. Like when I left the federal government, you could not use Signal, and I want to say, Mark, it has to do with where the actual server is for that app. You know, I think it's offshore, outside the United States. U.S. government not comfortable with that app being on a government device. WhatsApp, in contrast with that, my recollection when I left is WhatsApp is allowed on federal devices, and I used WhatsApp oftentimes to communicate with counterparts overseas, right? Which is kind of what she said. Now, I didn't do it because there was no ability to text them. Of course, I could have texted them. I did it for operational security. The country or countries where these particular colleagues of mine were located, I had low confidence that the communication would be secure unless I used some type of encrypted app. So I used WhatsApp, which was allowed, and I did it on a government device. But doing it on a personal device, that's a whole can of worms that gets opened up, because all of a sudden your telephone is subject to, let's just say, government review. Here's a basic example of that, and this used to happen all the time, Mark. Criminal case coming up, an informant does work for DEA on a criminal case. The agent communicates with this informant over a personal phone. Okay. Discovery comes around, and the defense makes a motion for all communications between this informant and the government. And all of a sudden now, when it comes to light that this agent used his or her personal phone to make these communications, someone's got to go through this agent's personal phone now and extract all these pertinent conversations out of it. It's something that's prohibited, and she caught herself there. You know, when someone says colleagues, I mean, that almost intimates that it's about a work issue. That's my opinion. You know, maybe I'm wrong. If I was doing something for personal use, I would say, hey, did I use apps on my personal phone? Yeah, I'm talking to friends. But then, I only have one friend that uses, one non-government friend that uses an encrypted app on a text-based application to communicate all the time. Everyone else is just comfortable with text messaging because it's basically nonsense that we're talking about, Right. So I got some questions about that, and I think it's very astute of you to pick up on that.
Yeah, I have questions as well, and people can call this conspiracy or reaching or whatever, but I'll tell you right now. First of all, she resigned, and I'm sure she would have been pressured out. I'm sure she probably got a phone call, like Joe Biden pretty much did after the debate with Trump. She probably got a phone call after this miserable appearance, like you said, performance. Right. And so, listen, it's the end of the road. So you can resign or you can be fired. But I think with this communications, this encrypted app line of questioning, I think at that point, and maybe it's just me reading something into it, watching the expression on her face, her cadence and her responses, I really believe that something in her mind clicks. I'm under oath, and I'm talking about communications. The reason I think she said is because my guess is if they are able to subpoena her phones, and they probably can now, and subpoena the information on there, I would bet you they're going to find communications between her and people in the White House very close to the president, direct communications about any number of things. That's just my guess. Maybe I'm wrong, and people can tell me why I'm going to be wrong. I'm fine with that. But I'm guessing that's what went through her mind when she saw that. This whole thing about... Go ahead.
Mark, we know for certain, I'm looking it up right now, and I'm moving slow because I'm trying to listen to you. Do we know for certain that Cheadle worked for... Did she work on, I guess I should just ask it like a question. Did she work on Jill Biden's protection detail when Biden was the vice president?
That's what I've seen in print.
Okay, if you've seen that in print, then I'm not going to look it up. But so here's what I'm going to tell people why this question was asked. Because, man, the people asking the questions in these hearings, they have inside information. There's whistleblowers that provide information. Obviously, there was something known here. Now, Jill Biden had an event the same day. Let's not forget, had an event the same day as the Trump event. It was also in the same area of responsibility of the particular Trump rally, that part of Pennsylvania. I want to say there were 6 or 9 agents. Do you remember, Mark? There was 9 agents. I think 9 agents from that local office sent to the Jill Biden event, and 3 sent to Trump's rally. So I don't know if it's speculation or if it's inside information. Did Jill Biden there was a total of 12, but I think 3 went to Trump's I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. I think there was a total of 12 agents. 3 of them went to the Trump event. 9 went to the Jill Biden event. The Jill Biden event was about, at most maybe 25% the size of the Trump event. It was much, much smaller. It was indoors. Obviously, the Trump event was outdoors. Anyway, I think these questions are asked because there's some smoke out there that perhaps there was some direct communication between Jill Biden and the director of Secret Service about helping staff that event. And, that I have no idea if that happened or not, Mark. That's not what I'm saying. But generally, when I see specific questions like this answered, and it was asked by a couple, when this gentleman, and what was his name again, Mark? I apologize.
Burleson, Representative Burleson from Missouri.
When he started with the questioning, he alluded to the fact that someone else had already asked her about communicating with you over encrypted apps with people in the White House.
Yes.
So obviously that smoke is out there, and there's some speculation or some inside information that this communication was going on, and they're trying to hone in on it. And with the Jill Biden event the same day, and 3 times the resources going to the Jill Biden event that went to the Trump event, I think that's probably the angle that they were going down there.
Yeah, Bill, really to sum it up, and you talked about this, is that it's rare that under these circumstances, when investigators or representatives are asking questions that specific, that they don't already know the answer to their question. It's rare when they're that specific, when they're that narrow.